That seems a bit high. Thank you very much, Isabel. Thank you very much to all of you that have spent the morning with us, and a big thank you to all of our presenters and clients who've been on stage. But also there's a lot of people, you've all put on events, there's a lot of people that make an event like this really successful. All of the people who have created the content and the design and the slides, and Angel who has put all on the event together, and there's a lot of people who really make an event like this successful. So I'd just like to say on all of our behalves, a big thank you to everyone. We've heard a lot in terms of some really interesting content about ranking of brands, and then we saw a different perspective when we look at the brand promise and the customer experience. So a lot of content that we've shared with you today. And I just wanted to step back a bit and say, as a client, and if I think about a lot of our clients around the world, how are they dealing with these kind of issues? What are the questions that they are asking themselves in order to make progress against all of the things that we've been talking about? And we start from a situation where really all of our clients, every single one of our clients around the world, want to build data-driven marketing organizations. Every single one wants to have more evidence for the decisions they make. We know that finance and procurement are getting more involved in marketing, and it's really important from an internal client point of view to be able to show the evidence for making decisions. How much should we spend? Where should we spend it? How should we allocate our budgets? So having data and insights at the heart of that is really important. One of the things that I have found a big change over the last 3 or 4 years is that clients have come to understand the value of understanding what is happening, but also why it is happening. So many advertisers, what I would call traditional marketeers, Unilever and a number of the companies that we've seen today, have always been very focused on understanding people, really what makes people do the things that they do. But if you went back a few years ago, we had clients like Google that were very focused on behavioral data. The conversation that we used to have with Google was they would say to us, we have all of the search data in the world, we understand the way that people are behaving. The really important thing is to understand the behavioral data. And some things have changed. Brexit happened, Trump was elected, and at the highest levels of Google, that really made them feel that they did not understand why people behave the way they do. And that combination of understanding what is happening and why it's happening is really, I think, at the core of what many clients are now doing. And it's at the core of what we as Kantar are doing, combining everything in terms of understanding people's purchase behavior, their media consumption, their brand experience, but also understanding why all of those things are happening. Now, when I think about our clients, I think in terms of really thinking about how to use consumer understanding to win, a lot of our clients are really thinking about 3 big questions, and sometimes they don't think about them these ways, but in conversations it's clear that this is what they're thinking. Is what you're trying to do to maximize the opportunities, or is it to minimize the risk? And those 2 things are different. It's not that one is right and one is wrong, they're different approaches. Some clients at this point in time are trying to minimize risk, to make sure that they deliver exactly what they need to deliver. Other clients are trying to grow into new categories, new areas, maximise opportunities. They're different approaches. What you do for one is not the same as what you do for the other. Some clients have got fixed marketing budgets, and others have got marketing budgets which can increase. We talked about financial services. We have a number of financial service clients around the world who are driving acquisition of their credit cards. The approach they take is what they call performance marketing. In other words, we have an approach to acquire a new customer through our marketing campaign, and we will continue to spend on that campaign as long as the marginal benefit of a new customer is greater than the marginal cost of acquiring that customer. So there's no fixed budget. The budget for that is we will keep on spending until the cost and the benefit of that campaign and acquiring a customer become zero. But a lot of our clients in packaged goods and elsewhere have got fixed budgets. And again, how you approach those things is very different. And finally, what are you trying to do? Are you trying to grow your category? Are you trying to grow into new categories? Or are you trying to win market share? And we've seen from all of the work that World Panel has done around the world that brands grow in different ways. That if you want to grow a category, you need to do things differently than if you want to acquire share. Why do I put these questions up? Because it's really important to understand and to be honest with yourselves as to what you're trying to do. Because what you do to do some of these things is very different from what you do with other things. And I was trying to think about what's the best example that I can give you to illustrate this. And it's actually a personal example. So for 11 years, I used to be advisor to this person that those of you that are from the UK will recognise. He's someone called Gordon Brown. He used to be the Minister of Finance in the UK for 10 years, and he was Prime Minister for 1 year. And I worked with him for those 11 years. And he was a fantastic Minister of Finance. Why? Because he was a very thoughtful person. As Minister of Finance, you really only make 2 big decisions a year. You make one decision in what's called the spending review. You decide how much money each government department is going to spend. And you make another big decision around the budget. All of the laws around taxes and everything else. So you have 2 big events during the year where you need to make some big decisions as to what you want to do. And he was fantastic at that because he used to think a lot, he brought in a lot of people, we used to have a lot of discussions, we could test things, all of those types of things. And then he became Prime Minister. And being Prime Minister is a completely different job. Because every day you are asked to make 20 different decisions and you have imperfect information for all of them. You never have perfect information. You never have all the facts that you need. You never have all of the knowledge that you need. And he was a terrible Prime Minister. Same person, but in 2 completely different circumstances. One where he was trying to be thoughtful, absorb all of the information, all of the facts. One where he's being asked to make decisions quickly with not very much information. So deciding what you want to do is really important, because how you go about doing it, and the people that you need to do it, and the tools that you need to do it, and how you work with us as a company, for example, are completely different. So if you just take that thinking, I think there's 3 big questions that we need to work together to try and help you decide on. The first one is, how are you spending your money? Not just with us, but generally. How are you spending your marketing and your research budgets compared to how you should spend your money? And the way that we've looked at this with a number of clients now is really to say you can spend your money in terms of confirming things that you know or measuring KPIs, or you can spend your money trying to understand opportunities you ought to grow into and where you ought to be going. So for example, with one of our clients that we've just finished this, it's a global company based out of the UK. We looked at all of their budget, and we happen to have a good share of their budget, so we know where it's being spent. But it's a company that's trying to move into new categories. It's a company that's trying to grow its penetration of consumers. And when we looked at the analysis of how they were spending their money, not in terms of the tools, but what is it doing for them, we found together that most of the money was being spent in terms of measuring stuff for today. It's very important to them, but actually they want to shift their money not from the bottom where things are confirming what they know already or measuring for today, but actually into the top right, which is questioning what they ought to do. So it's really important, I think, for all of you as advertisers and clients to really think about what are you spending your money on and what is it doing for you? How is it actually being spent? The second one is, have you got the right mix of tools? And I've been incredibly proud of the way that Kantar has developed over the last few years in terms of the breadth of its offer. Everything from really amazing consulting capabilities to help clients change their organizations and ask some big questions, through to advisory services in terms of really understanding what makes brands grow and some of the material that you've seen today, and also much more agile ways of working. And some of you may have seen, we launched something last week called Kantar Marketplace. It's somewhere where you can go and self-serve. So I'll just show you an example from the US. You can go on there, if you want to test your advertising, you can go on there, you can upload your own ad, you can decide what sample you want to specify, you can specify the country or the region that you want to test, you can specify which is your demographics, I want this kind of people or those types of people, and you will get the results back the same day. You never talk to anyone at Kantar. That's not a good thing always. Sometimes you want to talk to people at Kantar, but this is an example of an agile solution. So it's at the opposite end to our consulting capability or to our advisory capability. This is self-service. This is responding to the needs that we hear from clients, which is sometimes we just want fast, quick, cheapest solutions. Now you would expect this from a startup company. You might not expect this from Kantar. But our commitment to you is that we offer you the breadth of all of these things. And what's been interesting, when we first launched this, we thought this would be for small and medium-sized companies who really couldn't afford to work with us. And what we found is that some of our biggest clients, like Coca-Cola and Unilever and others, actually use these solutions because they decide that sometimes they want to work with us in a full-service way with deep diagnosis, and sometimes they want very quick, fast, same-day, cheaper solutions. So it's really important for you as a client to understand what is it you're trying to do. Do you have the right tools to be able to do those things? And then finally, the other big question is, are you trying to grow your category or are you trying to win share? And there's lots and lots of work and material that we've shared with you over the years, and it's available to really look at how you do one and how you do the other one. I think the most interesting thing for me over the last few years is that big companies have been losing out sometimes to small local companies. And we've asked ourselves the question of why that's happening. Why is it that local companies in countries like Spain or China or India or Colombia or Indonesia, why have they been growing faster? And I think part of the reason is that smaller companies are looking at lots of little opportunities and putting them together. And I remember years ago, and it's changed now, but years ago, working with Coca-Cola, and Coca-Cola have got obviously a big brand in Coke. And at the time, any new innovation was always going to deliver less than they could deliver by investing in Coke. So the answer was always invest more in Coke, because it was always going to give a bigger return than investing in small things. Now that has changed, and Coca-Cola has changed as a company, but we need to really think about not what's one big opportunity, but what are all of the multi-niches that exist and all of the needs which exist, and how can we put together all of these individual needs, and that together creates a much bigger need. And that's a different approach. It's hard for big companies to appreciate small opportunities. But I think the future is more and more one where you get growth by appealing to individual needs with individual segments, and you're stitching together, you're bringing together lots of individual opportunities. So I hope that's a way of thinking about things. It takes some of the content that we've been talking about today and really saying, okay, how do we now progress this from a bigger point of view? How do we progress this? How do we make the kind of changes within our company that we need to make? And really on behalf of Giuseppe as president of Kantar in Spain, and all of the people that you've seen on stage and all of the Kantar employees in Spain, our promise to you is that we will always be there for you, and we will always be a partner that you can work with. Thank you very much.